shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today we're taking a look at Timecrimes from the year 2007. Now I don't know this film, I've never seen it, I may have heard of it, but I never paid much attention to it, and I kind of wish I had. This is a Blu-ray for Timecrimes. There are other editions of this available. This is the one to get, because it also has the commentary by the director, Nacho Vigalondo, and behind the scenes, and a whole bunch of little things, including a relatively recent interview with the director. Now, I didn't purchase this. My brother got me this for Christmas. So he always gets me a Blu-ray or a DVD, because he knows that obviously I watch a lot of these things. And this one he is a time travel fan. So this one he sent me, and I was already taken by the title, not to mention this bandaged guy here, and then another guy who's like a middle-aged character. And so right here I thought, oh, there's some sort of conflict or something going on. Well, yes, most definitely there is. This is, by the way, region B, so it was playable in my Blu-ray player for the computer, in addition to my Blu-ray player in the living room. So it managed to be okay. I guess most Blu-ray players will play any region. Maybe they all do now. I don't even know. I don't have too many. I think I have The Spy Who Loved Me Region 2, and that was also playable. Not knowing at the time when I got it that it was Region 2, but it doesn't matter. It's playable. Anyway, this is the version to get. Timecrimes, if you're a fan of this film. So, on to the picture itself. It's by a director. It's his first film, Nacho Vigalondo. Now, I'm not familiar with this director at all, nor the actors that appear in this film, but these are actors I wouldn't mind seeing in more films. This is an anti-time travel movie. It is a reason, it justifies a reason not to go on a time travel journey of any kind. And, you know, I've seen other time travel movies, of course. My brother probably seen more than I have at this point. Usually the best ones I can think of, aside from the Back to the Future trilogy, would be The Time Machine from 1960, based on the H.G. Wells novel with Rod Taylor. And in there, you didn't really get the impression that time travel was problematic. I mean, there were issues, but it wasn't problematic, really. And then there was a remake of The Time Machine, which actually isn't bad. It is actually pretty good. Not as good as the original, but pretty good. And I know there are others that just don't come to mind immediately in terms of time travel. But it is a concept I really like. So, but this is the first movie I've seen that basically says that whatever choices you have made in your life are your choices. You can't go back and change them. And that's rather interesting because the film still presents sort of a paradox. So what's the basic story? Well, we have this character. First of all, the film is set in the rural part of Spain. And you have a middle-aged man with a slight pot belly. His name is Hector, played by an actor named, who has a lot of presence, Cara Alcalde. And he's returning home from work, and he lives with a woman, his wife, Clara, played by Candela Fernandez. And the home they live in is really basic. It's rural. It's right in the woods. It's going through certain renovations. And he's sitting in his lounge chair at one point, after the two of them have their little romantic afternoon together. And he has his binoculars, and he's looking out through the woods, and his property is fenced in, sort of, and he sees a woman, and he's kind of curious. It seems like a younger woman. Can't tell for sure. There's a lot of foliage and everything else. And she gets undressed at one point, so of course now he's really interested. But his wife, you know, is around the corner, so he's trying to, you know, not make it seem like he's looking at basically a nubile young woman. But she gets undressed. So then he's curious. He goes around the property, and he finds her, and she's naked. And the first thought would be, as Hector probably thinks, is that she's dead because she's just laying there and her eyes are closed. So it looks like she had been violated, perhaps. Throws a stick at her, nothing happens, and then out of nowhere, which seemed kind of just, I almost fell out of my chair when it happens, he's stabbed in the arm with a pair of scissors by some guy wearing bandages, as you saw in the cover of the Blu-ray. And he's known as the Pink Mummy, right? So he takes off, doesn't know who this character is. Hector runs into a lab of sorts, some sort of lab, and he hears music playing, which is Picture This by Blondie. He breaks in, he finds a walkie-talkie, and walkie-talkie he's communicating with a scientist. Now, I don't know why Hector didn't return to his own home, but whatever. Okay, so this is what happens. Because this is like, a few yards around from his property. And then the guy tells him, run through this path that's illuminated by certain lights and a certain number of lights. And he says, he's coming after you. So he runs off, assuming it's the bandage man that's after him, gets into the silo where the scientist is. And the scientist tells him, get in, and he's getting into some sort of it's essentially a time machine, but it's not your usual time machine. It's filled with a milky liquid substance of some kind. And he gets in, and it closes. He's in. He thinks the scientist will go with him. He goes back in time. And, but he goes back in time a few hours earlier. And I'm going to leave it there, because if I say any more, it's going to give away too much. Now, right away, you may have a certain idea of who that Pink Mummy is, so we won't go there. I won't say who it is, but I will say one thing. It reminded me of another movie, and I can't even mention that movie, because if you've seen it, then you'll figure out what's going on. But even when you figure that out, the film is still rather unpredictable. Number of situations this guy finds him in, a couple of them quite violent, including getting, pushed off the road in a vehicle, and this happens at least twice. The young woman who is thrashed about quite a bit, thrown around almost like a rag doll at certain points, and held at gunpoint, and so on and so forth. I mean, and what's interesting is that the protagonist, in a sense, almost becomes the antagonist. And you don't understand how that could be as you're watching it, but it is. So the hero, the movie, almost becomes an anti-hero, or does become an anti-hero. And I don't really want to give away too much more. Watch this movie. It is really something to see. I've not seen anything quite like this before. It's very intense. It's not very long. I think it's just a little bit over an hour and a half. But it holds your attention. Boy, is it riveting. And it also is the first time travel film I can think of where not just that time marches on and unchanged, and that our destiny is predetermined by the choices we make, but you can't really just change what has already transpired. And that, to me, was really a strong statement to make for this type of time travel movie. That sometimes you can't really change the events. Everything happens because it's just somehow designed to happen the way events happen. That you can't change the order of it. You can't change the outcome. It's going to be what it is. And that, to me, was really something to see in this picture. I haven't really seen a time travel movie that made that clear. Usually in time travel pictures, you can change events if you're involved in them, obviously. But you could change events and sometimes change the outcome. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. But here, the outcome really can't be changed. And that's what I found fascinating. So this is definitely worth seeing. It almost pretty much functions as a thriller. It has a lot of suspense. It keeps you riveted. You don't know where it's going. And once you get past the one major twist, you still don't know for sure where it's headed. It has the cinematography I liked a lot. It's kind of dank, claustrophobic, has a very desaturated look. The whole film is stripped of any sort of color, really, other than a red vehicle that you see at one point, or the young woman's colorful logo on her shirt. That's really about it. Everything is very desaturated, and it's really an interesting choice for this type of picture. It was, of course, shot on a low budget, and there are no special effects. So everything you see is pretty much what happens. It's all practical in terms of how it's done, and you kind of wish more movies could be done this way. So check out Timecrimes. I think it may be on Amazon streaming. I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere else, but I'm so glad I have this movie. It's usually I don't really buy movies just blindly. I only buy stuff that I really want to have that I've seen already. But this is one that I'm really glad I have, even though I certainly didn't buy it. My brother did, so as a gift. So yeah, check it out. Timecrimes by Nacho Vigalondo, and definitely worth checking out, especially if you like time travel movies. And that's all I got to say about this movie. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel if you aren't a subscriber already. If you are a subscriber, thank you. And hit that notification bell for future uploads. And that's all I got to say about that. Timecrimes from 2007. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.